Hello everyone, Chris Guthrie here, host of SellerCast, and in this episode I am interviewing Brad, who's built a business focused on selling products in the beer industry. Now the cool part is that he's done some very unique marketing strategies for his business that most people aren't even thinking of, and so you really want to pay attention to some of the nuggets he lays down and really just think about your own business and what you can do that will differentiate yourself from your competitors, not only from your products standpoint, but also from the way that you market and build your brand. So without further ado, let's go ahead and start this episode, and I'm sure you're going to love this. Hello everyone, Chris Guthrie here, and today we have another special guest on. His name's Brad, and he's been selling on Amazon for less than a year now, right, Brad? And is that right?
Yeah, my first product launched in October, but it took, 3 or 4 months to get there. So yeah, right about here.
Which we'll get into. We're going to get into that, lead times and all that. And I know you've been using SalesBacker since July 2015.
Yeah.
And you've been loving this business model for so far and enjoying it. So let's just dive in, right? So I know your brand is Man Mug, right?
That's correct.
Maybe you can tell us a bit about your product, how you came up with this idea for this company, and share some details.
Well, it started, I actually heard your podcast. I think it was number 17 with Brian.
Yeah, Brian Leidy.
Leidy, yeah. That's what it is. And it just sounded very intriguing to me. So he talked about they had a free tool going at the time where they were monitoring the top 100 of each niche and then the customer reviews. So I monitored that for about 2 months. And then I was kind of looking at another product. I wasn't into it, but I thought I could sell it and do well. But then one day this little stainless steel mug popped up, and I'm like, man, I could sell that. So I decided I wanted to market it as a beer mug because I'm a craft beer drinker myself. So that was a product that I could really get behind. And so I was shooting some names back and forth with some guys at work. And every time we'd come up with a name, I'd check the domain to see if it was available. And after about a week of doing this, someone suggested Man Mug. And I looked and I was shocked that manmug.com was available. So right then and there, that's what I was naming it.
That's awesome. That's a great story. That's a great story. So I know you said about October 2014 was when you started selling. And it took, several months to get the product up. What were you doing? Let's just take a step back. What were you doing before you started selling on Amazon, right? So what led you to this? I know you heard on a podcast, and that's kind of what made you think about getting into it. But what were you doing before that?
Yeah, so about, 5 years ago, I stumbled across a Pat Flynn post on Facebook landing pages back when they were doing that. And I just, actually, my buddy stumbled upon it and showed me, and saw that he was making, tens of thousands of dollars a month on online business. And up until then, I hadn't heard anything about that. So I was curious, but very skeptical. I'm like, this has got to be a scam. So I just started researching it and looking around. And the two guys that helped him launch his first product, Jason and Jeremy, internetbusinessmastery.com, I started following their blog and just monitoring it for about a year before I ended up paying, I think it was $500 for the first course, and then just slowly started building websites and monetizing them, and working on the SEO and all that stuff. Of course, I was listening to probably 3 or 4 podcasts on my way to and from my day job, about a 40-minute drive, so it's a perfect time for a podcast. Mm-hmm. So just trying to take action and trying to implement all these tactics and strategies everyone was using. So then I actually bought a website. I think I listened to one of your podcasts about buying a website on Flippa, and I bought it, and it was going great for about 2 or 3 months. I was doing really well, and then Google changed their algorithm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my sites took a dive, and it was heartbreaking. And I'm like, man, I really don't want to put all my eggs into this Google basket. So I just kept my ears open, kind of kept listening to podcasts. And then when I heard your podcast about Amazon, I'd been wanting to do my own product, but had no idea how to go about it. So your podcast really struck a chord with me. I'm like, man, this sounds intriguing. Let me look into it. And that's kind of what led me there.
That's awesome. I mean, I think that, I've had that too, with some websites getting tanked by Google or, other things like that. I bought a site on Flippa years ago. And 9 days later, Google
Oh,
AdSense was banned for the site. So,
oh,
and it was just making me from AdSense, right?
yeah, it's just heartbreaking.
I spent thousands of dollars on that site, and I eventually got it to recover. But yeah, and so there's always those risk points, I guess,
yeah,
in any business in some cases. But yeah, so that's what led you to Amazon. So you had some experience with, and that was what I was really getting at, is if you had any experience with other types of online business. So it sounded like you did, and been listening to different types of podcasts and just taking action on things that were interesting to you. So I'm pretty sure I know the answer to this question, but so have you only ever sold this one physical product, or were you also ever doing like reselling on Amazon or anything like that?
you know what? I built a couple of Amazon affiliate sites, and I was using AmaSuite 3 to kind of do my research on that. Um, got some traction, but not a whole lot. I think that the most I made Christmas a couple years ago was like $600 in affiliate money, which is pretty good, for just
Yeah.
starting out. But this is my first physical product I've sold myself.
Okay. All right. So let's just focus now primarily on your physical product business with manmug.com. So uh, as it is right now, are you just selling on Amazon, or are you also selling on your website as well, like through Shopify or some other type of platform?
Right. At the moment, I'm only selling through Amazon. So if you go to manmug.com today, it just directs you straight to Amazon. But I'm working with a developer right now, and I'm going to start using a Shopify platform. And then I've worked out, I found a fulfillment center in Oklahoma that I'm going to
Mhm.
start using. So through my Shopify account, there's a plugin called ShipStation, and that will send all the orders coming directly from my website to them, and then they would do all the fulfillment.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so I still don't want to ship anything. I got other aspects of the business I want to concentrate on, so they're going to handle all the shipping and customer service for me.
Yeah, that's the one thing that, and for me personally, always made me fearful of doing e-commerce businesses. That's kind of why I focused on building websites, ranking them, making money from AdSense, Amazon affiliate program, all those different types of things. Because I always just thought, man, if e-commerce, you've got to deal with
Yeah,
inventory, and it just seems like a huge headache. And that was when I found out about Amazon and then FBA
right.
offloading a huge portion of that. And then, of course, since that time, I've learned that there's a whole bunch of different fulfillment centers you can use.
Yeah, I kind of
Um,
felt the same way. It's just kind of a nightmare that I didn't want to go down that road. And then
yeah,
as I'm going down this journey, I'm finding things out, and I had no idea there were fulfillment centers out there that did it for you.
yeah. So that's great. That's awesome. So you're gonna be doing that as well. And that's a typical path I see for most people, right? They start on Amazon because that's where so much volume is available, and then
Right.
they either they'll eventually expand to their own site, or they just take longer to get there, and then they run both concurrently. So then let's talk about your success so far, right? So you started in October, and what was your first inventory order, right? Maybe we can start with that.
So the minimum order quantity was 1,000 mugs, which was a pretty big investment up front for me. This is kind of I was just tipping my toe in the water to see if this is going to work. So I bought my first 1,000 mugs. I think I went live on Amazon October 2nd, and thinking that I would make it through the Christmas season. And I was sold out within 2 months and entirely missed Christmas. I think I was, yeah, I was sold out, I think, by like December 12th or something.
Oh man, that's too bad.
So yeah, I'm just sitting in my house during Christmas going, man, I'm losing so much money right now.
That's the worst when you have a product that's selling well, which is already part of the challenge to get something that sells well, and then to run out of stock. We can talk about some of those challenges, but what did you do to actually get your initial sales? You did 1,000 minimum order quantity. You got it up, and it was selling on Amazon, and it sounds like pretty quickly you found success.
Yeah, so I I took this. It was Facebook marketing. Really has been the key. That's the only marketing I've done so far. And I took this course from guy's name's J.R. Salem from digitaltrafficace.com, and he just showed me how to laser target Facebook ads. And it's something that's extremely easy and makes perfect sense. But I just again, had no idea how to do it. So
Yeah.
I just needed someone to show me, hey, do this, and this. And I was like, man, it really worked. And then on top of that, I was trying to get customer reviews because I know how important that is. So I contacted the top 50 of Amazon reviewers, and only the males, because I didn't want to send a female reviewer a man mug because I was afraid of what they might say. But I think I got like 20 reviews from those top Amazon reviewers, and they were all 5 stars. So
Awesome.
I don't know if that helped or not, but
yeah. Okay. And so Facebook. Let's maybe rather than we probably could go pretty in depth or just kind of surface level, but let's try and dive a little deep on the Facebook side. So, what were can you share roughly what your budget was, or how many people you were targeting within your interest category?
I think
or anything like that?
my first ad was $5 a day, and I decided really quickly that I was going to target male beer drinkers because I know there are a lot of females out there that love beer, but the majority of them are, I guess the audience is bigger with males. So I started targeting home brewers. So in the Facebook ads has an interest field. So I just started researching all the home brewer websites, and you enter those into the interests. And then for the behavior field, I put beer, and then I think craft beer and domestic beers, all the beer ones popped up. So I can't remember the number. It was in the millions of people I was targeting, but it was very laser targeted, people who drink beer and like home brewing websites. So that was basically my target demographic that I was going after. And it seemed to work because they started selling right away.
And so were you just driving traffic directly from Facebook to your Amazon listing, or were you doing like an intermediary, opt-in to your page, maybe using a tool like Lead Pages or something?
You know what? I send everybody to manmug.com. I just kind of wanted them to see. I do video production for my day job, so I put together a little video for the website, and I just kind of wanted people to see the branding that I was kind of going with. So then that just takes you directly to Amazon. I've been trying to figure out a way to build my email list, and the only time I really did was when I ran out of product again. And I sent out, I had a pop-up on my site saying, if you want an email notification when they're back in stock, leave me your email address. And I got quite a few from that.
That's a good strategy. I think that's a good takeaway for people, especially, if you run out of stock, or, if you want to try and build your list, and that's, one way to do that. So that's cool. So that's what you're using initially to help drive some extra traffic. I know some people, they just rely on Amazon traffic. Others, they, need to have external traffic to be able to keep their business because, there's either really a lot of competition or some other element that kind of requires that. Perhaps offline we can talk more email marketing strategies, but yeah, that's great.
Yeah, it's definitely something I need to work on. Yeah.
Yeah. So you targeted initially men. So it's an obvious question then. So are you going to do another mug for women?
Yeah. So I did a beer fest here in San Diego, and it was a 3-day beer fest. And the 2 takeaways that came out of that was one, I definitely needed a girl version because there was a lot of women coming up really liking the mug, but didn't want to buy it because it said man mug. And then 2, a lot of people were asking for personalization. So I got to figure that out. But so right now I've paid our supplier in China the fee to change the mold. So I'm making a bigger version. Right now the mug's 16.9 ounces. I'm having to make a 22-ounce mug. And then that will be the new man mug. And then the girl version will be the current 16.9 version.
Oh, that's great. And so are you going to brand it as like man mug for women, or is it going to be like woman mug?
Yeah, it's going to have its own name. I haven't decided on that yet. I've sent out a few surveys on Facebook. I've gotten some pretty colorful answers, but I just haven't decided on which one I'm going to go with yet.
Yeah. And I think it's one of those things where just your overall process, right? Yeah, you focused on beer drinkers. You thought, okay, I just go after men initially, and then probably in the back of your head, you thought, okay, obviously there's this other demographic that I can target later, but let me just focus on this one and do this audience well, and then take that feedback, and then come back and do something for females as well.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I just I knew that this would get me started. I just needed to get started. And again, the only reason why I called it Man Mug was because that domain was available. And I'm like, man, I think people could get behind that name.
I think that's a brilliant name. Let's be honest. I love that domain.
And people seem to be responding to the name. Like people, at the beer festival kept saying, well, what makes this a Man Mug? And I'd give them my pitch. And then at the end of it, they're like, oh, that's cool.
So what's your pitch? Maybe you can tell us a bit of your pitch.
So stainless steel. It's double walled. There's air on the inside, so it acts like an insulator. So anything you pour into the mug stays ice cold, but the outside stays room temperature. So it doesn't sweat. There's no need for a coaster. And if you're holding the mug with your hand, the heat from your hand doesn't transfer to your drink, your beverage. And it works great for hot drinks too. And that's the pitch. And you look damn good holding it.
I think that last part's key. that part's key, I think. No, that's great. I think that's I think I may have told you this before, but I was planning on buying one because I was like, I gotta have it. It's I like to.
Well, I'll send you one.
To drink beer as well. That's a perk here, then, I guess. Thanks. Well, cool. So that's the idea behind how you built it. Maybe some strategies that you're using to move into other markets. So let's talk about going beyond that first order, right? Now you've done your first order. You saw you've come into a market. People are interested in the product that you're doing. What did you do after that, right? Were you doing larger inventory orders each time? Maybe what was your most recent largest order?
Well, so the second order, I was only able to afford 2,000 mugs. So I was only able to double the inventory. Got the mugs in. And again, they started selling faster than I thought they would. And then again, I ran out of inventory right before Father's Day. So I've run out right before Christmas and then right before Father's Day, my two biggest holidays. So
yes, but then I'm assuming that you're going to lead with saying that, and I'm probably putting words into your mouth. But so did you do a large order after that then?
Yeah, I actually borrowed some money from a friend, and we ordered 7,000. Actually, the next order was 4,000 and then 7,000 like a month later. So we've got over 10,000 coming in.
That's great. And so as of we're recording this in late July 2015. As of this recording, are you currently in stock then?
Yes, I am.
Awesome.
So I've got 3,000 mugs at Amazon. I've got 1,000 here at my house, and then I've got 7 more coming from overseas.
Yeah. One of the other things, just kind of coming back now, I wanted to talk a little bit about the inventory side, because I think that's a challenge, right? Is being able to control your inventory, and especially when you're dealing with production times, lead times, potential holidays, Chinese New Year, etc. They can impact everything. So
yeah, that's been my biggest challenge so far, is just the inventory.
Yeah, which I think, if you can pick a challenge, that's better than my product just isn't selling.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yes.
Yeah. So one of the other things that you touched on was people mentioning at a beer festival, which I think is great, by the way, that you went out, as opposed to, I think sometimes people think, I'm selling it on Amazon, but they don't think about their own local market that they could potentially try and sell to, just to even get more, hands-on feedback right away.
Yeah, I wanted to get the word out, and then I also wanted just some immediate customer feedback, which we got a lot of, so it was great.
Yeah, so I'm curious, one more question on that front. Did you create like a booth, or did you just, was there a way you could just go in there and you could just show people the mug?
So I just, I paid the fee. I think it was like a $500 fee to get your booth. And then I bought a little pop-up shelter with my branding on it. And then, they provide chairs and a table. And basically, I think it was like $60, $65. You can get into the beer festival and you can sample all the beers, but then they also have non-beer vendors like myself who are selling products.
That's great. So, just since we're here on this topic, were you able to turn a profit from the event, or at least break even?
Oh yeah, we sold quite a few. I did really well that weekend.
Oh, that's awesome. So that's another strategy for people that are first starting out, or maybe they're not yet at a huge scale, and they're also looking for that feedback early on, is to
Yeah,
push in
absolutely.
local areas.
I've done a couple more since then, and I've had a great. Everyone's been really happy and friendly so far, so it's been great.
It sounds like something fun to do too, just like
Yeah,
as a different experience.
yeah. It's a beer fest. How can you go wrong at a?
That's how that's actually how I discovered my personal favorite. I prefer IPA beers. As I
There
thought,
you go.
I go to these beer festivals and I try these different beers, and I have these cards to write down, but I never really remember the flavors.
No,
But
especially if you've
so
had
I
a few.
thought, yeah, exactly right. That's another point. So that's why I did. I'm just going to focus on one type, and that's what I did. And that's why I drink IPA now.
Yeah.
But anyway, so the other thing that you mentioned though that came from that beer festival was I believe something people wanted customization, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe you can talk about that. So what type of customization were they looking for?
Well, so I've got a pretty close friend that got a deal on Shark Tank doing bottle breachers, which is 50 cal bullets that they make
Oh
into.
wow.
Yeah. So
Of course, I mean, I had to say something. Everyone's seen. I feel like anyone that's an entrepreneur or that is an aspiring entrepreneur, I believe, probably watches that TV show. If
yeah,
they have
yeah,
cable.
religiously, right?
And yeah, I've seen that. I've seen that episode. So yeah, go ahead and continue.
So
Sorry.
I do video production for my day job, and I did their video audition for the show, and they got on the show. But he kind of started his company. He sold his motorcycle and bought his first laser engraver, and they were making these things in his garage. So I got to go over and see what he was doing, and they're laser engraving onto these brass rounds, and just kind of got me thinking that if I could laser into these mugs, I think it'd be pretty cool, and people would want to buy them. So after the beer festival, it kind of confirmed my suspicions that people would really dig these mugs that have a groomsman name on it, or an American flag or something like that. So I'm currently in the process of trying to figure that out. There's a fabrication shop here in San Diego where it's membership based. So you go in there and they've got wood shop, metal shop, lasers, all kinds of stuff. So they've got some lasers in there to use, some sandblasting equipment. So I'm doing some tests right now, and some of them are coming out really cool. The sandblasted look looks really neat. So I think people are going to be happy with that.
Yeah, that's cool. And so are you thinking then about doing? You mentioned an American flag and some other kind of more widely appealing designs potentially. Are you thinking about doing those as like child variants within Amazon, or will you just sell those through your own store?
Well, I would sell those on my own store as well as like Etsy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so the personalization orders would come directly to me, and then I would have, I've got 1,000 on stock right now. So, I would actually start doing all the fulfillment myself, which is going to be a lot of work, and it's not as passive as I'd like, but it's kind of hard to ignore that when it's right there looking at me.
Yeah, and so I'm going to assume that you're going to sell that for more, so you can get a bigger chunk of profit. Or
well, I'm thinking of offering it as $5 more, not too much more.
Oh, okay.
Because I'm not going through Amazon. I'm not paying the Amazon fees, so it's a little bit more money in my pocket.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, I think that's an awesome story from just kind of start to finish on why you picked that. I'm curious too. You said October, so it's less than a year selling. What are your goals for this business, right? I mean, it sounds like it's just from talking to you, it sounds like it's something that you personally really enjoy. You enjoy beer, you enjoy doing these festivals. It sounds like it's something that you could just do as your full-time thing. Is your goal to build it up and sell it, or what is it?
I've always thought that this is kind of my first stop on a long road. So I'm going to build this up, make it my full-time gig. Build it up as far as I can go, and then either keep it and hire people to manage it for me, or just sell it. But it's definitely I'm not going to retire selling mugs. There's always something more to learn, something more to figure out. That's kind of the fun of the whole process.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, so then, I mean, you mentioned your goal maybe is to make it a bigger thing, your full-time job. how much time do you say you spend on this business now?
Right now, it's different from week to week. I would say anywhere between 10 to 20 hours per week. Right now, I've got a lot on my plate because I'm trying to figure out the personalization. I'm trying to get my Shopify store up. I'm working with the other fulfillment center, trying to make sure that's going smooth. So at the moment, there's quite a bit going on, but in the last few months, it hasn't nearly been as much.
Yeah.
Just trying to get, the beer festival stuff going, just some artwork and some, product images, stuff like that.
Yeah, that makes sense. So for the shipping process too, just I'm thinking back to you talking about how you're going to fulfill some of your own orders for for when you start doing some personalization to the mugs. What are you using? You don't have to mention the company if you don't want to, but are you using some type of a freight forwarder, or what are you doing right now to do your shipping process?
Right now I've got an account at stamps.com, and it's actually really easy. You got a little scale. You just put it on there, print out a label, and then I just drop it off at the postal service, post office. So there might be a better way out there. I haven't really looked too much into that yet, because right now I've just been sending out free samples to people, trying to get the word out there. But once I, ratchet it up, there might be a better alternative out there. I just haven't researched it yet, but that's what I'm doing at the moment.
Okay. And then what about on the China side then? So getting them from China to the US, are they using like a freight forwarder?
Yeah. So I found a company that kind of handles all of it for me. So they've got the forwarder over there. And then, when it gets here, they deal with all the customs, all the fees and taxes. And then they hire the truckers to take it to the fulfillment centers. So
yeah,
I've been
cool. And
been really happy with this company, and they've really got my back. So
yeah, and so presumably you're doing sea shipping for this since it's stainless steel, or did you air ship any of them initially?
No, it's just been sea shipping. Although I probably should have done it through air, just because I was out of mugs. But the thing that seems to take the longest is once it gets here, it sits in customs for like a week or two.
Yeah,
which is kind of excruciating when you don't have product.
Yeah, you can see if you know which port it's in, you can be like, it's right there, it's on the boat.
Yeah.
Just come in home. That's cool. So I'm curious if there's anything else that I think the story and the way that you're approaching this, and this is part of the reason why I wanted you to come on, is it feels like it's beyond what a lot of people are thinking about when they're thinking about this business, right? They're looking for an opportunity to sell on Amazon. They find something and then they kind of go forward with it, but they don't really look at, exterior types of strategies like what you've done with the festival and some of the other unique things you're looking at doing with your own website. Is there anything else you'd suggest to people that are either new sellers or people that are going along in their business that could help them?
You know what? There's just a million ways to make money out there. And especially with the internet, there's even more ways of making money. You just got to pick something that you're comfortable with doing, something that's working. If it's working, try and duplicate it and just try and do it again. For me, I was just excited to build a brand. Once I found out manmug.com was available, I'm like, man, I can do a lot with that. I started getting a lot of ideas. So I kind of committed to myself early that I was going to build this brand. I was going to concentrate on, I wasn't going to buy a barbecue brush the next time. I really wanted to stay in this kind of niche and kind of take it as far as I could.
That's awesome.
As far as any advice, I would just, keep your ears open, listen to as many podcasts as you can, find people that, you think you can trust and, try out some of their strategies. And if it works for you, just, kind of listen to what they have to say.
I want to latch on to that last point that you said. I think that you mentioned, find people that you think you can trust and, work with them. So are you in any other small type groups, or you've been in these Facebook groups that are larger and you've kind of, or even just locally, right? You mentioned you have the friend that's been on Shark Tank. Have you formed like smaller mastermind groups or anything like that with other people?
You know what? There's, the first blog I kind of started following, internetbusinessmastery.com. Those guys are just really genuine. They kind of focus on breaking into this. Like their whole thing is to help people get out of the 9 to 5,
Mm-hmm.
So they're just real genuine guys. And I felt like I could trust them from the beginning. They've got a Facebook group. So we all kind of try and help each other out. Other blogs like mixergy.com, like Pat Flynn, just guys that, genuinely want to help people. There's a lot of guys out there that's just trying to make money, trying to tell people how to make money. And that's their only goal, is to make money themselves. So you kind of have to be careful on who you trust.
Yeah.
But once you find your core group, I've got 4 or 5 blogs that I listen to religiously, including you. I don't know. I just kind of follow all the advice you guys are giving me and trying to find my own way.
That's great. That's a good takeaway. I think on that note, we're about up in time, and I think that just the story and some of the strategies that you talked about that I know that people that are selling on Amazon aren't implementing, and that they should. There are a lot of people in other different spaces, and they're not really thinking about outside the box strategies. And I think that the advice that you gave is going to help other people as well. And I just really appreciate you coming on to share your story and your brand. And thank you as well, of course, for using SalesBacker. We appreciate your business. And
yeah, man,
thank you so much, Brad.
Thanks for having me on. It was it's an honor, and it was very exciting to be on my first podcast.
Yeah, I thought it was great. I mean, I think that you're going to do well with this business, and all the stuff that you talked about sounds right in line with what I think would make sense for what you should do. And I'm sure you have even more ideas that you'll be working on as you go along as well.
I do. Well, I appreciate it, Chris.
Thanks, Brad.
Everybody, see ya.
All right, that's our episode with Brad, and hopefully you enjoyed it. I mean, I think that the strategies that he's using for his business are really outside the box. I mean, not that many people are actually going out and getting booths to sell their products in a physical location just to try them out and to test the market, and just as a way to generate extra sales, right? Most people are really focused on just Amazon and ignoring a lot of the other opportunities that may be available to them. So keep that in mind, and just keep your mind open to new strategies for building your business. If you enjoyed the episode, please do leave us a review as well. You can go to sellercast.com/review to do that on iTunes. We appreciate it, of course, because the more reviews that we can get, the more people can find our show on iTunes and listen to us. And then, of course, the better the show can get, just based on the feedback that we receive. So thank you so much again for listening, and have a great rest of your day.